how to do a level loop, HI, and a turn point. For that demonstration, I'm going to use this 3D surface, and it's a surface that's created in 3D, actually using Civil 3D. That's what this software is. So this surface is what we're going to use to hopefully demonstrate and hopefully help you to understand how to plus, how to minus, and even a turn point. So on this one, what's going to happen is I always start with a known elevation. I have this point number 1A. It has an elevation of 3642.36. Now, to help us demonstrate this, I'm going to use a command called ID, which is identification, ID. So I'm going to ID this point right here, and it's going to give us an X, Y, and a Z. So we need to pay attention to that Z because the Z is what our elevation, 3642.36, 3642.36. Okay. So going to our book, you have our starting point. We have point number 1A. I'm only going to do a single wire. I'm not going to do the 3-wire survey. I'm just going to do a single one so you can kind of understand the numbers. And we have a starting elevation of 4236. So remember, you always need to have a starting elevation, 4236. Technically, I could put the 36, 4236, but I think it's unnecessary, or I guess we can, no, I'll take it off. 4236 is going to be our starting elevation. All right. So then we're going to do our plus shot. So how do we do that? Okay. To help you with that, what's going to happen is I have a little 3D man here with a device. It's the level, I guess we can call it that. And then I also have, and it's somewhere in here, I guess I lost it. Oh, I don't know why I ended up over here, a rod. So I'm going to take this leveling rod. I'm going to put it over here for now, and just so you guys can see it. It's a leveling rod that I did in 3D. You can zoom in here and I can look at the numbers. And just like what you guys have, we're using out in the field, we have the 0, the 1, and the 2. And these are actually measured, and I can measure them. So from the 0, from the 1 here, for example, if I were to take a distance from the 1 here, from this edge here to here is 0, 1. From here to here is 0, 1. So we know now that from here to here, that would be a 0, 5 distance of 0, 5. Okay, so this is pretty much how you're reading the rod out when we're doing our surveying. So we're going to take that rod. Let me move that rod closer, and we're going to put it on that point. So I'm going to move this rod here, and then I'm going to go back to the surface, and I'm going to put it on that known point that we talked about. So the known point that we have is this one right in here. So I'm going to place it right there. Got it. Okay. So we have the known elevation. That's 36. I'm going to go with just 4236. We have the 4236, and then from there we're going to start taking a reading. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to graphically set up our little setup here with a man, a woman, if you want to look at it that way, however you want to, and with the level. And we're going to take elevations for 2B. I named those 2B. I'm going to change one of them to 1B. So I want to take all these elevations. So we don't have elevations right now, and even 3A. So I'm just going to set it up probably, I don't know, let me see. Maybe somewhere around here, I guess, right there. Okay. So I'm going to set up that person, and then that person is going to take a reading from the rod right there. Okay. So we're going to take that reading to establish the HI. So to understand the HI, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this disk. This is your HI. So I'm gonna move that from the center here. I'm gonna move it to the center of the level, right there. Okay. So remember that the level has been leveled. It's perfectly flat. So anywhere that I'm observing right now, that's gonna be the HI. Let me see if I can move it a little bit better. So that's our HI. But to get the HI elevation, what I need to do is I'm going to take it from the reading of the rod. So right now, from the ground, from that point on the ground that we kind of know already, when we know that elevation of 4236, I'm going to plus it by whatever I'm reading. So this is a 4 right in here. This is a 3, so I can take a reading of this one. It'll be 3.4, probably 3.41. Yeah, so I'm going to call this one 3.41. 3.41. Okay, so we go back to our book. That's going to be our plus shot. 3.41. So I'm going to put that here, 3.41. So that's our plus. So then we need to get the HI, which is where I'm going to take the point on the ground. I'm going to plus it to get the HI. That's the height of instrument. So to do that, I'm going to take my calculator and take the 4236 plus the 3.41 equals 4577. So I'm going to put that here, 4577, and that's going to be our HI. Okay. Graphically, let's look at that. 4577. 4577 is the height of instrument. So using my ID command, if I'm going to go ID and I ID the center of the instrument, it's 4577 right there. Okay. So 4577 is the height of the instrument. That's the perfectly flat elevation that I've determined from that known elevation. So since this is the height of the instrument, you can kind of see that it's flat. So let me ask you this. What is the elevation on the edge of this disc? If I were to ID it nearest to this point right in here, we are at 4577. If I look over here, if I ID that point, that ID elevation will be 4577. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your height of instrument. With that height of instrument, I can now, as long as I don't move the instrument, I can now take elevations. So I'm going to change this back over here so I can see a little bit better to the wireframe. Let's say I wanted to get this one right in here, and I apologize, I have that 2B twice. So I'm just going to call it 2C. Okay. So we have point number 2C. We have 2B here, and we have 1B and 3A. I can actually take the elevations of these two. I can take 2C and 2B. And unfortunately, those are the only two I'm going to be able to take. And I'll tell you why here in a little bit. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to move the rod because the rod pressure was standing on this point. So I'm going to move the rod. And I'm going to go from this point, and now I'm going to go over to point 2C. I'm trying to get that elevation. Okay, even though here graphically on this on the computer, and I'm gonna rotate the rod a little bit, but it's facing the rod, the instrument person. Okay, that way the instrument person can be back over here and take the reading off of that rod now, since it moved, to get the elevation here. Now I can really just identify that point, but I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to do the math. I'm going to do the math on our calculator, and we should end up with that same elevation, and I can just ID it, and we should end up with the same thing. Okay. Remember, I did not move the HI. I didn't move the instrument. So because of that, once again, anywhere on this disc, it's a height of 4577, which is your height of instrument. So with that being said, now I'm going to look at that rod right over here, take that reading. That reading is going to be something different. Now it's going to be an 8 that I can see here, down here. Let me see. Let me get a better angle. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So it looks like an 8, 5, 4. So 8, 4, 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 8, 0, 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 5. So that's going to be an 8. No, sorry. That's 8. I'm reading it from the bottom. So this is going to be a 7. 7, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3. So 743. 743. Okay. So I got a 743. So I'm going to take this one over here. Let me do this. 743 is what I read. I hope I don't forget. 743. Wireframe. 743. So we go back to our book. And now we're going to take a shot at 2C. And I'm just going to skip a line on purpose just so it's not too confusing. 2C, and that one was a minus 743. That's our minus shot for 2C. And then because I'm reading it off of the HI, remember everything is now off of the HI. So from the HI, I read 743 on the rod. I will then now minus, I'll subtract down to this point to get down, because remember these are the elevations I'm looking for. I'm not interested in elevations anywhere else except on the ground. So this is the elevation I'm looking for. So because of my book and the math that I'm doing, I'm going to take 4577. Remember, we're subtracting from the HI down minus 743. So I'm going to take my calculator. 4577 minus 7.43 equals 3834. 3834. So I'm going to go back over here and now fill in the elevation at 2C of 38.34. Got it. So that's what should be there. So let's confirm it. Let me write that down in information before I forget. 36, 38, 34. So if I were to ID this point using AutoCAD, because I do have already elevations on there, when I ID it, I should end up with 38, 34. And ladies and gentlemen, I have 36, 38.34. Thank you very much. I will be here all week. That is how we do a plus and minus. Can I keep going and get other elevations? Sure. Let's look at 2B right in here. I'm going to go grab the rod, move it from that point on the ground, put it on point 2B right here. You don't have to, but I'm just going to rotate it so that it makes sense graphically. But it's facing the rod person, or sorry, the instrument person. Right over here, más o menos. Okay. We can even go as far as rotating this guy, because remember, I'm rotating it. So as long as it's perfectly flat and it stays flat, here, technically it should only be just the level, but just, it's moving the whole thing. Remember, you don't pick up the instrument. You just you rotate the level on the tripod. Here, I'm just rotating so you can kind of see it. I could probably do the rotation just a level, but I don't think we need to go that far. So I'm looking at it now, and I'm going to take an observation of the rod at that point. Let me turn on the little shading so you can see this better. Remember, this is still my HI. So I haven't moved it. So if I were to just to prove it to you that it's still 4577, that's my HI that I have, 4577. I haven't moved the setup. I just moved the little level, and then I'm going to take another reading. This reading, this is 1. So it's actually pretty flat. It's going to be almost down to the ground. So we barely made this one. We can barely use the rod on this one. So that's good, but it still works. So this is going to be a 0, because we have the 1 over here, 2, 3, 4. So it could be 0.4551, and I could probably round it. I'm going to call it 52. 3, 4, 5, 5, 2, 0.52. I'm going to call it 0.52. Okay, so 0.52. Which point is that? Forgot. 2B. So I'm going to go back to my book over here. Okay, go back to my book over here. That is point 2B. Okay, is that going to be a plus? It is not. It's going to be a minus. Everything's a minus 0.52. Is that what it was? I already forgot. So I got the 0.52. And it's going to be minus the HI. Remember, right now, I haven't moved it, so it's still an HI of 4577. So I'm going to take the 4577 minus 0.52 equals 45.25. 45.25. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down. 45.25. That will be the elevation on the ground. And it's a minus because because I'm reading the rod from the 4577 HI and then taking reading it downwards towards the ground to get the elevation on the ground. Is it going to be 4525? Let's find out. Using my handy ID command, I'm gonna ID that point right there. We have 36, 45, 25. Very, very good. So that's how we do pluses and minuses. My next video will show you how to do a turn point off of this point.